we're now at the point where we can start to put together a picture of what causes weather on the Earth. So we have sunlight. So let me first draw a little bit of land, and I'll draw a little bit of ocean, and let's imagine that sunlight is falling on the land and on the ocean. So the sunlight doesn't heat up the air directly. It falls on whatever it happens. It just falls on the surface of the Earth. It goes right through the air and warms up the surface of the Earth. Now, if the sunlight falls in the ocean has a very low albedo, and so the water in the ocean tends to get warmed up very efficiently by sunlight. Now, sunlight that warms up the ocean then and it warms the ocean a little more efficiently than it warms the land. So what tends to happen then is that entropy can flow from the ocean to the air above it by conduction. So as the air blows across the water, entropy flows from the ocean into the air. And you've probably heard it said before that warm air rises. So let's imagine here's a blob of warm air which has been warmed up by the ocean. It'll tend to rise up, and it rises up and it leaves a gap behind. It'll leave a vacuum behind. It's sort of like a suction that pulls things in. And so as a result, cooler air, which might be blowing in, say, from the land nearby, will come in and take the place of this warmer air, which is rising up into the higher part of the atmosphere. Well, this cooler air comes in, and then it gets warmed up as well, and eventually rises itself. And as this warm air rises up very high up into the atmosphere, it eventually cools off. It expands and cools off, and finally it will fall. After it's cooled off, it'll fall. So you know that cool air then falls. So warm air rises and cool air falls. And so this is the way in which entropy from the sunlight warms up the ocean, warms up the land to some extent too, and causes warm air to rise up, causes a wind. This can cause cool air to come in and rush in and take the place of that warm air. It may rush in from any direction. So the cool air rushes in to take that place of the warm air, and so then you get a kind of circulation through the whole atmosphere, from the surface all the way up to the top of the atmosphere. And this circulation doesn't happen for free. There's a lot of friction that goes on when a lot of air resistance with the air moving around in this cycle. It takes a lot of energy to cause that to happen, and that energy all comes from the sunlight. So this is a basic way in which weather is caused by energy that comes from the sun. Now, what we really need to talk about is, why does warm air rise, why does cool air fall, and what does the sunlight and energy have to do with rising and falling in the first place?